Just before we begin, I want to mention we're working very hard, long on getting a young group of people out of Peru. We've removed some, and the rest are being removed with the cooperation of the Peruvian government. And we're also dealing with Honduras on getting some people out that got caught up, and we are working on that very well, again, with the Honduran government's work, and they're working with us, so I appreciate that. We have a couple of other locations that we'll report to you, and we were able to get a young woman released from a certain area who was being horribly accosted, horribly treated, and we spoke to General Milley. General Milley took care of it. We went in, and we got her out, and we'll report further on that one. But it's that was rough stuff. I want to thank General Milley. I want to thank all of the people that were involved and the people that went in to get her. I want to thank you very much. As we continue to marshal every resource at America's disposal in the fight against the Chinese virus, we're profoundly grateful to our nation's state and local leaders, doctors, nurses, law enforcement, and first responders who are waging this battle on the ground. It is absolutely critical that Americans continue to follow the federal government's guidelines, so important, about social distancing, non-essential travel, and hand washing. Defeating this unseen enemy requires the help and commitment of every single American. I want to just say that Senator Rand Paul, a friend of mine, he's been a great friend of mine. He's been always there when we needed him, when the country needed him. And as you know, he just tested positive. Jose Diaz-Balart, spoke to him yesterday, tested positive. And some people are, they're getting quite close to home. And it's a terrible thing that's going on. The hidden enemy, I call it the hidden enemy. And I think they'll all be fine. I hope they're going to be fine. But I just want to send our regards, and I think I can speak on behalf of our country, to those two great friends of mine. We're working urgently with Congress on legislation to support the millions of workers, small businesses, and industries who have been hit hard by the virus through no fault of their own. Our goal is to get relief to Americans as quickly as possible so that families can get by and small businesses can keep workers on the payroll. This will help our economy, and you will see our economy skyrocket once this is over. I think it's going to skyrocket. It's a pent-up demand. It's a built-up demand, and I guess you really have to say who knows, but I think it's going to be a tremendous day when we win this war, and we will win the war. We want to win the war with as few, if you look at it, just deaths as possible. We want to have as few number of deaths as possible. Today I'm announcing action to help New York, California, and Washington ensure that the National Guard can effectively respond to this crisis. The National Guard, these are tremendous people. They're fully on alert. We've signed what we had to sign, and it's been activated. We're dealing also with other states. These states have been hit the hardest. Actually, pretty much by far, you could say the hardest. Everybody can see that. Just look at the numbers. And through FEMA, the federal government will be funding 100% of the cost of deploying National Guard units to carry out approved missions to stop the virus while those governors remain in command. So the governors locally are going to be in command, and will be following them, and we hope they can do the job, and I think they will. I spoke with all three of the governors today and just a little while ago, and they're very happy with what we're going to be doing, because we'll be announcing some other things for those three states and some other states where it's hit the hardest. This action will give them maximum flexibility to use the Guard against the virus without having to worry about costs or liability, and freeing up state resources to protect the health and safety of the people in their state. The federal government has deployed hundreds of tons of supplies from our national stockpile to locations with the greatest need. In order to assist in those areas, I approved the state of New York's request for a major disaster declaration, something which Governor Cuomo has been asking for and which I agree, and we had it done in very rapid fashion. We approved this on Friday evening, and we are working very, very hard to get all of these things not only signed up, but completed and finished and in win. The request from the state of Washington for a major disaster declaration was approved just a little while ago. Went through the process, and we moved it very quickly. The request from the state of California was just received, and we will have it approved very quickly. We'll be working. I told that to Gavin Newsom, and we're working on getting that done very quickly. It'll be done maybe tonight. We have large quantities of medical equipment and supplies on the way based on all of this to those states, including respirators, surgical masks and gowns, face shields, coveralls, and gloves, with large quantities already delivered to Washington and to New York. In addition to large quantities of supplies, I've also directed FEMA to supply the following: 4 large federal medical stations with 1,000 beds for New York, 8 large federal medical stations with 2,000 beds for California, and 3 large federal medical stations and 4 small federal medical stations with 1,000 beds for the state of Washington. The governors know. The supplies en route to California and New York will be delivered within the next 48 hours. In addition, the Naval Hospital ship, the USNS Mercy. It's incredible ships. These 2 ships are incredible, one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast, will be deployed to Los Angeles to add emergency surge medical capacity, and they have a tremendous capacity. They are really something. I will say that if you look at some of the things we've been doing, and now those numbers have gone up, and just to be a little bit more exacting, we've done a presidential approval for a request for major disaster declaration for the state of New York. Approval of Title 32 National Guard activation for the state of New York. We're providing all of this at no cost to the governor. I spoke with Governor Cuomo. He's working hard. We're all working hard together. The relationship has really been amazing. But it also enables the governor to provide robust National Guard support to the state. And the 25%, we're going to be waiving that, the 25% cost. We're picking up, we'll be coordinating, and they'll be doing something with very special people. Mission assignment of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to provide support to build out alternate care sites. They're doing various alternate care sites, which have now been designated by New York. 4 large federal medical stations of 1,000 beds. These are very complex places, actually, with great equipment and great people. Strategic National Stockpile Order, and this is as of a number of days ago, so far delivered to New York, and this is the 19th. We had the N95 respirators, 186,416 delivered. We've delivered 444,078 surgical masks. Many have been delivered since then. Face shields, we've delivered 84,560 face shields. Surgical gowns, 68,944 to New York. Coveralls, 352. Gloves, 245,486. Also to New York, in terms of what's been delivered just since then, the numbers are quite large, and we have tremendous numbers of companies also making equipment. For the state of Washington, we've delivered 369,000 N95 respirators, 507,406 surgical masks. And this is as of about 3 days ago. Face shields, 63,788 face shields. Surgical gowns, 107,850. Gloves, 240,376. And we have many, many things pending. It's actually not pending. They're being fabricated. They're being made, and they're moving. Now for Washington, so we have 4 small federal medical stations, 250 beds. And for Washington, state of Washington, we have 3 large federal medical stations, 750 beds. And then you have, as I said, the approval of the Title 32 National Guard. State of California, again, to be very precise, we're going to have the approval of the Title 32 National Guard activation. And we're providing all of this, again, like in New York, at no cost to the governor, meaning to Governor Newsom and the state, no cost to the state. It enables the governor to provide robust National Guard support to the state. So they're going to have control of the National Guard. Federal government sending. These are incredible people that are being sent. We have 8 large federal medical stations with over 2,000 beds, and that's going to California. And then strategic national stockpile order. We've ordered likewise hundreds of thousands of different items. I won't go into the exact numbers, but the numbers are very substantial. But we're having tremendous additional numbers sent. And whatever the states can get, they should be getting. I say we're sort of a backup for the states. And some of the states are doing really well, and some don't do as well. The ones that don't do as well need more help. But these are 3 states that really do need help because they are hit very hard. And the outpouring from the private sector has also been extraordinary. I'm pleased to report that Honeywell, great company, has just announced it will immediately expand its personal protective equipment manufacturing operations in Rhode Island to produce millions of additional N95 masks. They're very hard to get. They're actually quite complex. For the U.S. government's strategic national stockpile, they'll be immediately then delivered to the various states. This expansion is already underway, and it's going to provide a lot of jobs for that state, probably around 500. The masks will be distributed by the government for the use of the health, safety, and emergency, and this for response workers, primarily for response workers. These are very high-end. This expansion is, in addition to Honeywell's action, to more than double production of its existing personal protective equipment manufacturing plants. They make a lot of different things, and they're doubling and tripling their production. They're going round the clock. Today, I'm also announcing the launch of a new public-private consortium organized by the White House, the Department of Energy, and IBM to unleash the power of American supercomputing resources to fight the Chinese virus. The following leaders from private industries, academia, and government will be contributing, and they're going to be contributing a lot of different things, but primarily computing resources to help researchers discover new treatments and vaccines. They'll be working along with NIH and all of the people that are working on this. But tremendous help from IBM, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, MIT, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, the Department of Energy's National Labor Laboratories, the National Science Foundation, and NASA. They're all contributing to this effort, and they're fully in gear. This afternoon, I also want to update you on the steps we're taking to protect and serve our country's 18 million veterans. These are great people. Our amazing veterans have shown their eternal loyalty to our nation, and this is the time where they're in need, and we are going to show our loyalty to them. We're being very protective of our veterans. We're working on certain hospitals where we may be doing some work in Louisiana in particular and some other states, veterans hospitals. We're going to be very protective of our veterans. Some of them are of that very vulnerable age, and some of them obviously are not feeling well, and some of them are still suffering the wounds of war from many years ago. Yesterday, I signed vital legislation to ensure that the GI Bill will cover distance learning during this emergency. I also spoke with many of our veteran service organizations, or the VSOs to describe our unprecedented action. In February, the Department of Veterans Affairs established 19 emergency operations centers throughout the country. One of the things that they've been trying to get done for many years, you all know this from following me over the last number of years, but we got it done pretty quickly. They've been trying to get it done for many, many decades, was choice, veterans' choice, and also veterans' accountability. Now, if it's crowded within this, if they can't get to a doctor, we have great doctors in the VA. I have to say that. We have fantastic doctors, as good as they come. But it's hard to get to them because of what was bureaucracy, but no longer bureaucracy. We've done a lot of things, in that case, because of accountability. When people aren't doing their jobs, or if they're bad, or if they're sadistic, or if they steal, or anything bad happens, we're now allowed to fire them for, I signed that a year and a half ago. For many years, you weren't able to do that. So the VA is working, and I was just told by our great leader at the VA, Robert Wilkie, he said for the first time, we get the highest marks in the history, highest poll numbers in the history of the Veterans Administration. Came out a week ago that they're happy. And look, one of the reasons that happened, highest in history, one of the reasons that happened is because of veterans' choice. If they have to wait online, they go and see a private doctor and we pay the bill. And they get better. They don't have to wait 2 weeks and 3 weeks or 2 days, but they get better. And a lot of times they waited so long that they would have a problem and it would end up being terminal because they couldn't get the kind of treatment that they deserve. So highest poll numbers, highest approval numbers in the history of the VA. I was just given that information yesterday. We restricted visitors' access to 135 veteran community living centers, which house nearly 8,000 veterans with chronic medical conditions, so that we limit their exposure to the virus. We want to totally take care of our veterans, and that's what we're doing. The VA has canceled most elective medical and surgical procedures. They're delaying them till after this is gone, after we've won. We began providing life-saving care to patients who had symptoms across the 171 VA medical centers nationwide. That's a big deal. Under my administration, the VA has also been a leader in expanding telehealth. Telehealth is becoming a bigger and bigger factor in medicine. This month, we have taken bold action to cut through the red tape and make telehealth available for millions more Americans during this crisis. They can speak to a doctor from the safety of their home rather than risk becoming infected or making a tremendously long trip, when, frankly, you'll speak to a great doctor right from your home. It's happening, telehealth. We're very much at the forefront of that, too. We're very proud of it. And it also takes a big burden off our system. We continue to accelerate the development of safe and effective vaccines. We're also aggressively investigating a number of antiviral therapies and treatments to determine their potential in reducing the severity and duration of the symptoms. And you know how I feel, because how I feel is on Tuesday, they're going to be starting it on Tuesday morning. And we're going to have some medications delivered that we're going to see if they work. They certainly are effective in other ways, and they are safe from the standpoint is that they're not killing people. We're not going to have that. So a lot of great things have been happening in that regard. I just want to finish, and then we're going to ask a couple of people to say a few words that have been so much in the forefront of this incredible job that we've all been given. But I want to say that I know that this is a challenging time for all Americans. We're enduring a great national trial, and we will prove that we can meet the moment. I want to assure the American people that we're doing everything we can each day to confront and ultimately defeat this horrible, invisible enemy. We're at war. In a true sense, we're at war, and we're fighting an invisible enemy. Think of that. For those of you who are feeling alone and isolated, I want you to know that we are all joined together as one people eternally linked by our shared national spirit. We love our country, a spirit of courage and love and patriotism. No American is alone as long as we are united, and we are united. We're very united. People are saying things now that 3 weeks ago, they didn't talk that way. We're very united. No force is equal to the strength of really a unified America, united America, an America like we have it right now. For those worried and afraid, please know as long as I am your president, you can feel confident that you have a leader who will always fight for you, and I will not stop until we win. This will be a great victory. This is going to be a victory. And it's going to be a victory that, in my opinion, will happen much sooner than originally expected. It's now attacking, the enemy is attacking 144 countries at this moment. 144, that's unthinkable. There's never been anything like this. And it's vicious. It is vicious. Some people recover well, and some people have a hard time. We all know that. But we will be totally victorious. We will then get our economy up to a level that it was, and in my opinion, beyond, because that will be a pent-up demand. There is a pent-up demand, and a lot of great things will happen. But I'm very proud of our country. I'm very proud. I'm very proud to be your president, and it's just something that's just, you're very special people. So thank you very, very much. And I'm going to ask, if I might, a combination of Pete. Why don't you start off? Okay, please.